Welcome back to SF Live. I'm your host, Myrna Lim. Tonight we have a very special guest, Mr. James Fang, the president of the BART board. He has been a member of the board for 20 years. He had seen the progress, the developments, the trials and tribulations of BART. He is appointed by Governor Schwarzenegger to the California State of Education. He is a civic leader, an icon in the Asian Pacific community and in the San Francisco community. Very well known. And welcome, James. How are you?
Thank you, Myrna. It's great to see you again, and thank you for the opportunity today.
Oh, it's a pleasure. So let's talk about BART. It's unfortunate, but the last big news that happened that came across people about BART is the killing of Oscar Grant. So, what do you think? How did that impact BART and so forth?
Well, first, I must say that everybody at BART, myself included, are very, very sorry,
Right.
particularly to the family for that very tragic shooting. I think we acknowledge that, and that is something that nobody wanted to happen.
Right.
But having said that, it did also allow us to take a look a little bit more stringently at how we actually do the policing at BART.
Right.
And so what we did is we've done some major, wonderful things at BART now, or
Right.
very, not wonderful, very progressive things at BART with respect to our police department. We unfortunately had to let go of the police chief.
Right.
We had two independent companies from the outside come and not only look at what happened that night with Oscar Grant,
Right.
outside, not us, but also another outside company to totally audit what the police
Right.
was doing and make recommendations. We now have a civilian oversight committee, which actually required state legislature approval because we're an entity of the state and the governor signed that. We have that
Right.
now. And we also settled so far with Oscar Grant's daughter
Okay.
in legal
All
court.
right.
So it was a very difficult lesson, and I think most people feel that that is
Right.
something that should not have happened, but we've tried to learn from it. And I think now, while I still appreciate the
Right.
outrage at all of the sentencing things with regard to Officer Meserly, Johannes
Right.
Meserly, it is really beyond BART's control on that end. I think the
Right.
things that we have needed to do, we have done. And so I think that, again, we're very sorry,
Right.
but we have done. So I think the last big thing in terms of the to-do list is to begin to engage with the estate of Oscar Grant with respect to the big lawsuit we think is coming.
Oh, okay.
But again, these lawsuits are tempered
Right.
by the criminal verdict.
Right.
So in this case, Meserly was convicted of what they call involuntary manslaughter,
Oh, right. Right.
which is probably the lowest of things that you can actually do.
Right.
And I think the fact, whether people agree with it or not agree with it, that he got 2 years of jail time.
Right.
I think all these factors go into how we proceed with the case.
Right.
So we're looking forward to that to make sure that the estate
Right.
of Oscar Grant is taken care of to the
Right.
best that we can.
Now, outside of that unfortunate incident, you have overseen a major expansion of BART, right? From being just a San Francisco BART to, could you explain, like, what boundaries do you have right now with BART? It's pretty amazing.
Well, thank you very much for noticing. Being an old architect yourself, if you still are, I can't remember. I know you're doing so many great things, and we do miss you. I keep hoping that you're going to continue to run for office again as you had done. You had come so close. Our city would be very, very blessed if you decided to do that.
Oh, thanks. That's kind of you.
But we are doing some great things at BART.
Oh, exactly, yeah.
We are now expanding
Right.
to San Jose.
Okay.
From Fremont, we're going to build to Warm Springs. That contract has always
Wow.
been let. Plans also are coming now to build from from Warm Springs to what they call Milpitas,
Wow.
Milpitas to Berryessa. And so that whole big project there is going to be about maybe, that just one small piece is going to be about $1 billion.
Wow.
And then when we go down to Santa Clara, it'll probably reach up into the $7, $8, $10 billion neighborhood.
Wow.
The second thing that we're doing is we are building to the Oakland Airport. We are going from the Coliseum to the Oakland Airport. It's about 2 miles or so.
Yeah.
We have a new train. That's about $500 million. We have BART, which gets kind of a light train, light rail, but
Right.
BART operated from Pittsburgh to Antioch to Brentwood in that area.
Right.
And finally, we also have a $1.5 billion seismic
Wow.
program to retrofit everything at BART. And I think one of the charges for me is when you put all the, and then the final one thing I just want to add, we're buying new cars.
Oh, wow. Okay.
We're going to replace about the 800 cars that we have and maybe add a few more. And the total bill for that, or the total amount of money, is going to be $3.5 billion.
Wow.
So all in all, with BART expansion program,
Right.
seismic, new cars, it'll be about $8 billion. And the key for me is to make sure that local women and minority-owned businesses get a share of this money.
Right.
And so we are looking at, how do we challenge Prop 209?
Right.
How do we do a variety of
lobby group,
different
yeah.
things to get more more minority and women businesses
Right.
much more involved? And so we're very excited. And one final thing, and I know I'm running out of time on this subject, is we would like very much to start the dialogue about bringing BART to the Richmond district of San Francisco.
Oh, that's excellent.
It's called the West Side of San Francisco.
Right.
We call it B2B, BART to the beach.
Wow.
And how that would work would be pretty simply. We'd go from Powell Street Station, maybe have one stop in the Western Addition,
Right.
And then maybe 4 or 5 stops in the Richmond, maybe Arguello, 25th, 43rd, and end up at this, basically where the Safeway beach, the
That would be
beach.
excellent.
And so we're thinking about maybe going down Fulton. And I think the reason this would be really, really important is, I think, one, it would help Muni,
Oh, God. Yeah.
which is a little bit challenged to provide service
You're being
there.
too kind.
Yeah, a little bit. There's a saying at BART, it's a joke. It takes longer to get from the Richmond district to downtown San Francisco than it does from Richmond City
Exactly.
to downtown San Francisco.
Exactly.
And I
No,
think
BART is excellent. It's a great transportation.
96% on time, and
It's comfortable. It's clean.
well, you're very kind, and I agree.
Yeah.
And I think the other thing
And the
is
workers are very pleasant too.
good enough, except you haven't seen them during labor negotiations. Outside of that, it's tough. But also, I think such an extension would not cost the people of San Francisco extra.
Yeah.
It would be considered a regional project, and we've been
Right.
masters at getting the money. So, very excited about that project. I don't know that I'll be around long enough to make sure that this gets done, but we're going to try to push it off in the best way possible.
Well, speaking of being around long enough, I think a lot of people in the community in San Francisco have been pushing for you to say, look, you've done an excellent job. We're going to promote you upstairs, okay? I mean, in politics. We need people like you in higher levels. You've sort of paid your dues in BART, 20 years, okay, that's good. Let's get you up. Mayor, you're a lawyer, district attorney, or assembly person, or in the Senate. What is it? What sort of things could happen to make that happen? Okay, Newsom has been elected. He's going to Sacramento next year, and there's a talk that Senator Leland Yee has declared to run for mayor, and if he wins, then that opens up a position, his position. And then, of course, Assemblywoman Fiona Mai is dying to be a senator. That would be a good position for you.
Well, first of all, you're much too kind. I don't know that I deserve those accolades, but the old saying is, what is the old saying? modesty prevents me from accepting those. Honesty prevents me from denying those. But, I think first I would like to say that it has been a tremendous privilege
Right.
to serve the people of San Francisco in transportation.
Right.
One quick note before I go on to the crux of the issue
Right.
is I think it's so important for San Francisco anywhere to have some people that know one thing.
Transportation.
In my case, transportation.
Exactly.
And so I think that has served the city well. We've been able to do many things to help the city, just to have somebody there who
Right.
knows transportation. Now, I clearly plan to, the current plan now is to continue to serve out the term,
Right.
which will be an unprecedented, when I finish, almost quarter of a century.
Oh my God.
Still, as you say, there are many different things out there.
Right.
The situation in San Francisco is so convoluted and so
Right.
many backdoor little things going on. I would be lying if I didn't say I was at least looking at some things, but maybe not the things that people think that are open
Yeah.
that I might be looking at. As you mentioned, Kamala Harris might win,
Okay.
and if she
alright.
wins,
I like
what
her,
happens? Yeah, what happens there?
Yeah.
There's just so many different moving pieces, but I do think that it might be time for me to, continue to the best of my ability to serve out this term,
Right.
but also look for opportunities to increase the service through my
Right.
participation.
Now, you won't be interested in being a supervisor, though, are you?
Well, you normally never say never,
Oh, okay, okay.
but I think in some ways,
You're bigger
generally-
than that.
yeah, and I think one of the difficulties with the Board of Supervisors, and one of the
Right.
things I have to be candid about with BART and other offices, is that, the way the supervisorial system now is structured,
Yeah, it's pretty small.
it's not only small, but not all,
Yeah.
some supervisors are so tied into maybe the 4,000 or 5,000 votes that
Right.
got them elected.
Exactly.
They don't even, I think they have less regard maybe for the city in general
Oh, yeah, right,
than they do
exactly.
for their small base.
Right.
And again, I'm not blaming anybody for that, but I think that is something that I think San Francisco needs to really look at in
Right.
terms of, you can still have districts, but you
Right.
also need some people, the districts I think need to be bigger,
Right.
and you do need to have some at-large Board of Supervisors run
Right.
also, because at the rate we're going, it's basically about 70,000 people for a district,
Right.
about, give or take, 75. So you figure about half of those
Right.
are registered to vote, so let's say 40,000. So of the 40,000, basically, that are registered to vote, only about 20,000 show up to vote.
Exactly, yeah.
So of that 20,000, if you get 7,000 or 8,000 in a 3 or 4 person race,
Yeah.
even with ranked choice voting, how do you represent an entire city off that? So I think we need to revise that. And so,
Well, let's talk about your colleague, Lynette Sweet, with BART, right?
yes,
I
a
mean,
wonderful lady.
I mean, she ran for supervisor in District 10,
Yes.
which covers Vegetation Valley, Hunters Point. How is she pairing in the race right now? She's doing well?
She is, at the moment, I believe she is in 3rd place.
Okay, all right.
However, the difference between, I think, her and the number 1 person, which is, I think, Malia Cohen,
Right.
I think it's like 30 votes.
Oh, my God.
And there's still, I understand, about another
That's amazing.
10 to 20, 12,000 votes that yet need to be
Oh my
counted, or
God.
maybe even more. It's hard to say at the time. But so it is still up in the air. So
Right,
they've
right.
already gone, my understanding. So if Lynette does win,
Right.
she would leave the board.
Right.
And the Board of and the BART board would be responsible for appointing her successor.
Right. Well, let's assume the scenario then with Leland being elected mayor. Now, I've known Leland for a long time, since 1997. He helped me start my small business.
Wow.
And Leland is one of those people, he always shows up everywhere. He is the hardest campaigner. Last time I saw him was at Lucky Chances. He was serving food to people, serving people drinks. So he has never lost an election.
That's
Right?
correct.
He's very strategic, and people, respond to him, really like him. Okay, let's assume that he runs. He's already declared. He wins next year, so he starts serving on 2012, and then Fiona Ma will be running when, well,
what would happen is
next year?
Fiona would there'd probably be a special election
okay.
for his state senate seat, because there would be a little bit of time for when he
Oh.
becomes mayor
Right.
and when the primary and when the actual election for the senate seat is.
Oh, okay.
And so, Leland just got reelected
Right.
in November, so his term technically goes 4 years. But I
Right.
believe under state law, there's got to be a special election at the next.
Okay.
So the key there would be is if Fiona first if could get appointed or
Right.
apply
Right.
for the interim
Right.
and then run in the general.
Right.
And I must say also that I think Leland would be a very good mayor of San Francisco.
Yeah.
He does work very hard, but hopefully that means, well, I don't say hopefully, it will mean he spends that kind of energy on the city. And so I think it'll be important. He's a good man. We all know him.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I've known
He is,
you.
they used to call James Brown the hardest working man in show business. I think Leland is the hardest working man in San Francisco state politics. This guy is everywhere, and I'm
Yeah.
proud to support him, and I think he's a great man.
Yeah, I've known him since when he helped me with my small business. He was a member of the Board of Education.
Yes, way back then.
Oh my God! So anyway,
Although I've seen pictures of him back then, and just like everybody, you haven't changed much. You've gotten much better looking. Me and Leland have kind of fallen apart.
no, you guys don't look good.
No.
But anyway, with you then, okay, will there be a special election for Fiona's seat?
Yes, there'll probably be a special election for
Okay,
Fiona's seat
all
also.
right.
It would be a whole domino
Oh
effect.
my God!
And that field already is, you can already
This
look
is-
at the people that are going to possibly have interest. I mean,
Right.
Sean Ellsburn,
Right.
he's okay. But Carmen Chu,
She's she's new though.
she is new, but,
She just moved to San Francisco from Los
you are
Angeles.
correct. But for the same reason that David Chu might become mayor, who's only been here in government for X amount of years.
Oh my God!
And then Janet Riley, if she loses, may also be interested. So it'll
Now,
be a
she
crowded
had
field.
a real tough fight with Fiona.
Yes.
in
And
the
what
assembly.
happened was, I give Fiona credit. Fiona endorsed her for supervisor, but I think her difficulty now is Janet's is she's losing.
Oh,
She may
no.
not get to be the supervisor, which replaces Michaela Alioto. And so she would have something to do. She might run for the seat again. Now,
Right.
two things that should at least be noted on the assembly seat.
Right.
One is the districts may change.
Oh, that's right. There's a
Because-
redistricting commission.
Yes,
Right.
and I think they'll be in time for 2012. And the second thing is, as you well know, this
Right.
open primary.
Exactly.
So you
that's
would not
great.
really have your normal
Exactly.
Republican, Democrat kind of.
Now, the redistricting commission that was elected
it was
by the
appointed.
voters? Oh, they were appointed.
It was passed by the
California voters.
yes, but I think it is appointed by
Governor. Was
and
there
I
a
think
redistricting
governor and
commission?
and the Senate. I think it's joint appointments.
Okay. Okay.
Everyone had to apply,
Oh, okay. Right.
and so we'll have to see where they come out with new districts.
Right. Right. Now, this. So, what would you do as an assembly person? What would be your pet projects or pet
Well,
issues?
first of all, I'm not even sure that I'm running, but if I did, I think one of the things that I would have to start looking at is, what can the state do
Uh-huh.
to start helping overturn Prop 209?
Oh, okay. I like
I mean,
that idea.
I think the problem is when you get to the assembly and
Right.
something that large, of course you still have to pay attention to your district, but you've got to focus in on a couple of things that are important.
You've got my vote.
No, but I think one of the big things is Prop 209. I
Yeah,
mean, if you look
exactly.
at BART, for example, we
Yeah.
had a Warm Springs contract
Right.
for $239 million, which was let.
Wow.
And in the end of that $239 million, about $14 million went to minority and women-owned businesses.
Yeah.
13 million went to an Asian architect firm.
Right.
And then 1 million went to a black firm because the African Americans just started screaming and said, this is not fair, which is true. It was not fair. But one of the problems now that we face at BART and others is that what these contractors do is they don't, because there's no obligation to hire women and minority contractors.
They don't have to do it.
And then they come back to the district for us and say, you know what, we don't have much minority or women participation, but we've lowered our price so much, you've got to do us.
Right.
And legally, you can't tell us what to do. Now, we try and push to get as much as we can. So I think if 209 could be overturned, I think that would add such a heavy weapon into this arsenal. Because, California, I'm not sure exactly, but, especially in the Bay Area, minority and women make up a majority of the Bay Area.
Wow, we're running out of time. It's amazing. Anyway, and of course you have a good relationship with Governor Jerry Brown, right? So that would
He's a great man. I think he's going to be a great governor. I think he will do things what I call the old school way, which is a good way. You have to be able to talk to both parties.
Exactly.
I mean, I think Gray couldn't do that with Republicans.
Right.
Arnold couldn't do it with either Democrats or Republicans, and even I like the guy, but I think Jerry Brown would have that kind of vigor and spice.
All right, well, we're running out of time. 22 minutes goes so fast. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us again. My name is Myrna Lim, your host, and thank you, James. I'm looking forward to your run for the assembly.
We'll see what happens. Thank you.
All right, good night. Thank you so much. We'll see you again next time.